Saturday, August 17, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 Weekend Review. My name is Samuel Signandan. We will be looking at some major stories for the week beginning Monday, August 13 to Friday, August 16, 2019. We start off by telling you that a Burmese family was brutally beaten by masked robbers who stormed their Port Moran quarantine home on Sunday evening. We found this report on Tuesday.
Indira Samaru and her family had to seek medical attention after a trio of armed bandits brutally attacked them on Sunday evening. Reports reveal that the attack occurred at around 2100 hours at their Lot 227 Dispensary Dam, Anchorville, Port Moran quarantine home. Globespan 24x7 News understands that Samaru, her husband, and teen son were at home outside when the three masked men approached them, one brandishing a gun and two carrying cutlasses. Samaru recalled that her husband was dragged into their kitchen and demanded that he hand over the $4 million.
And when he dragged me inside, he asked me where is the money. And I asked him what kind of money. He said I have money. So I said I don't have money. He said yes, I have money. So I want the $4 million. And I tell he said where I never see $4 million what it look like. So in my whole life I never hold a $4 million. And they said go and bring the money. And I go in the room and I bring the bag. I had a black bag. I bring out some of the money and I can't recall how much because it's undisclosed amount.
According to the traumatized woman, the bandits threatened to kill her son if the money was not handed over. But her son told them that the family is not rich and pleaded that his mother not be killed.
They threatened to kill my son, said they want the rest of the money. And I told them I have no more money. And they started to fight with me. And they beat up my husband in the shop. They get it flat in the shop. Take the gun, but and they start beating on his head. Until he say, bring the money, bring the $4 million. And my husband tell he didn't know what they talking about. And they started to, the one take his foot and start stamping on his chest and start coffee up on his face. And he become like he feel dizzy. Blood starts streaming down from his face. And they take a cutlass and hit my son on his head and tell him that if your mother didn't give me the money, we will kill you. And my son tell him that we are not rich. So there's all the money when my mother have and she's giving it to you. So please don't kill my mother. And they say, oh, you don't want me to kill my mother, so we're going to kill you then.
Samaru relayed that the men ransacked the home and then locked him in a bathroom before escaping with valuables and an undisclosed amount of cash.
And when they put us to sit down now, they bring my husband from out of the shop and put us there. And they take everything. They started to ransack the place. They said they have to get the money. I tell them I don't have more money. And they start to ransack the place, pull out all the drawers of the wardrobe, empty everything, the chest, the drawer. They gone everything. They started tumble up. They gone with 3 cell phones. They gone with a tablet, a charger. They demand the car key from my son, and that the one they have a sack that he came home with. And my son tell him the half a sack is in the car, and they want the car key. They take us and lock us in the bathroom if we have a washroom. Lock us in there and take the key and open the car, and they take out the half a sack. They tell us not to scream. If they scream, they're gonna kill us.
The woman stated that the ordeal lasted around 20 minutes. Investigations are ongoing. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
With thousands of Guyanese having already participated in the house-to-house registration exercise, the People's Progressive Party Civic is claiming that the process is flawed and illegitimate, while insisting that it must be corrected soon. We take a look back at that story.
There is a question that was raised earlier on the house-to-house registration. Let me be very clear that the house-to-house registration requires the signature of a People's Progressive Party scrutineer. And the space is provided there. So this exercise cannot be legitimate because there is no signature there from any People's Progressive Party scrutineer.
That was presidential candidate of the PPPC and former government minister Irfan Ali, who spoke with the media at the sidelines of a picketing exercise held outside of the Ministry of the Presidency earlier today. The exercise is one of many held by the opposition party, which is demanding that cabinet resign and that President David Granger name an early date for elections.
What is happening in the court has nothing to do with what we are doing out here today, and that is ensuring the president fulfills his responsibility of dissolving parliament now and naming a date for elections.
The PPPC protest comes at a time when the Chief Justice, Roxanne George, is expected to give a ruling regarding the house-to-house registration exercise and related cases tomorrow. But Attorney General Basil Williams has already hinted at the possibility of appealing the case if the Chief Justice does not rule in favor of the government. While President David Granger and opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo met last week to discuss their opinions on the matter, the PPPC is adamant that elections should be held no later than September 18.
No! Early election! No! Early election! No! Early election! No!
For Globespan 24x7 News, I'm Samuel Suknandon. Of high anticipation for the ruling regarding the current house-to-house registration case, Guyana's Chief Justice Roxanne George has ruled that the process is not unlawful or unconstitutional. We take a look at that story from Wednesday.
Accountant and attorney at law Christopher Ram on July 22nd filed an application asking the High Court to declare that the current house-to-house registration exercise is in violation of the Constitution of Guyana and previous orders issued by the CCJ. Ram challenged the exercise, citing that it is only a means to further delay the general elections, putting forward a September 18th date for it to be held. Earlier today, Chief Justice Roxanne George ruled that the ongoing house-to-house registration exercise is not unconstitutional or unlawful.
He stated that GCOM has a duty to ensure that the electoral roll does not include persons either do not exist or whose names are entered into the official list of electors contrary to law. He did not say what law he was referring to specifically. In this regard, the circuit had been advised that the applicant does not have that there was no constitutional right to vote, but a constitutional right to register pursuant to Article 159.
The Chief Justice ruled that the court cannot order that elections be held on a certain date in relation to the proposed September 18th date put forward by Ram. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
The improved growth in the country's economy, the current political situation continues to pose a major challenge to future development. We find out why in this report.
I did mention that we expect 4.5% growth at the end of this year, but of course everything has an if and a but, okay? And you know there are downside risks that can challenge us getting there, one of which is the challenging political environment that has been there since December 2018. Well, in a sense is accelerated because quite frankly since 2015 we have been operating in a challenging environment.
That was Finance Minister Winston Jordan addressing the media earlier today. He said that the situation will remain the same until the political issues are resolved. However, the minister noted that it could have a negative impact on economic growth. But asked to explain what he meant by that statement, the minister had something else to say.
Going forward, we have tried to take a conservative approach. So unless you wake up tomorrow and you hear strike action, wildcat strikes in the sugar industry, perhaps, or something happens on rice that has nothing to do with the paddy bug or so on, we do not see political action having any great toll on achieving the 4.5% growth. Indeed,
Some private sector organizations have complained that the political climate has in fact affected their sales and general business. While no formal study has been done to verify the impact this has made to the business community, business people are complaining daily. Government has stated that given its interim status, it does not intend to sign any major contract with investors both locally and internationally. This too could in fact impact business and the general economic outlook for the country. For Globespan 24x7 News, I'm Samuel Suknandan. Wednesday, Kippenny Jordan reported that Ghana's economy grew by 4% in the first 6 months of 2019. When compared to the same period in 2018, this percentage is expected to increase to 4.5% by year-end. Here's more.
Government has predicted that by year-end, Guyana could see a 4.5% increase in economic growth in comparison to the same period in 2018. This was according to Finance Minister Winston Jordan, who launched the government's mid-year financial report today.
if I were to give you a bit of comparisons of where we are or where we are between 2015 and 2019, every year this economy grew. In 2015, we recorded growth of 3.2%. In 2016, 3.4%. In 2017, which was our only bad year, 2.1%. In 2018, 4.1%. And in 2019, we estimated 4.5%.
He added that the country's public debt remains sustainable and faces a moderate risk of distress. This, he noted, is primarily because of the government's commitment to meeting its financial needs and payment obligations to the lowest possible cost over the medium to long term within the prudent risk factors.
In terms of the public debt, Guyana's public debt has remained very stable. The stock of total public debt at the end of 2019 is roughly $1.7 billion, a slight increase of 1.5%.
When asked about the performance of public enterprises, Jordan said most public entities are in deficit, paying out more than they receive in revenue, and Guy Oil will be the only enterprise doing well as they are continuously bringing in revenue.
It is difficult to find a best performing public enterprise, because to be quite honest, almost all of them are either at the margin of profits, which is thereabout, very small compared to the assets employed, or a number of them are in deficit.
Entities in deficit are cash-strapped Gaisuco and the National Insurance Scheme, NIS. For Globespan 24x7 News, Kippenny Jordan.
Commissioners met on Thursday for the first time as a collective with newly appointed chairwoman Claudette Singh to discuss matters relating to the continuation of house-to-house registration and preparation for general elections. Here's more.
A meeting could be held before next Tuesday as long as the Chief Justice's written ruling regarding the house-to-house case is received. This is according to the government-appointed GCOM Commissioner, Vincent Alexander, who spoke with the press following the meeting today.
The question on the way forward in some regards was not determined, in the main because we're still not recipients of the written decision of the judge. And there are those of us who would prefer not to rely on reports and third-hand information. So that what we have agreed is that we will await that written decision and convene shortly after, hopefully before Tuesday, to discuss the way forward.
The way forward in the special proceedings of GCOM with special regards to house-to-house registration was not revealed.
We sat today and took a decision that the CEO, and this was a consensual position, the CEO will come to us with the scenarios, and those scenarios will include house-to-house and other scenarios for the delivery of election.
Opposition-appointed GCOM Commissioner Bibi Shadiq spoke with the media briefly but did not give any specific details regarding the meeting. Reports are that some 230,000 persons have already been registered through the current house-to-house registration process. A date for elections is yet to be announced. For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kippany Jordan.
Opposition leader Barra Jagdeo expects that the ongoing house-to-house registration exercise would have ceased by now given the Chief Justice's ruling. More in this report.
Addressing his weekly press conference today, Jagdeo made it clear that he expects the current house-to-house registration exercise be stopped immediately, given the ruling handed down by Chief Judge Roxanne George. Jagdeo opined that the process is merely a waste of time.
The list OLE expired in April 30th. Remember, elections were supposed to be held by March 21st. The one way of refreshing the list is to claims and objections. So that is why we believe that the ruling here shows that this exercise, house-to-house registration, simply cannot be pursued in the manner that they want to do it. That is to deregister people and create a new database. So if the existing database could be preserved and is preserved now, then one way of getting people on that database who have not had the opportunity to be there is through the claims and objections.
Jagdeo highlighted that they have other options that can be used to update the National Register.
You know, you're wasting our money. It's over $1 billion. In fact, maybe about $2 billion you've spent on this. I don't want the enumerators to lose out. So that's why I suggested, because they are trained, that you pay the enumerators some cash for the rest of the exercise. You know, like an ex gratia payment, a lump sum, and say to them, and see how many of them you can use back.
Jagdeo has also rubbished the statement of the Working People's Alliance, which urged his party to support an extension to the life of the Parliament and by extension the government. The former Guyanese head of state maintained that the PPP will not give the government the two-thirds majority it needs in the National Assembly to extend the deadline for the general and regional elections. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
The Working People's Alliance says it expects GCOM to be ready for the general and regional elections by December of this year. More from Shakima Day.
Executive member of the Working People's Alliance, Dr. David Hines, posited that if GCOM sticks to their 3-month timeline to finish the updated National Register, they should be ready for elections by December of this year. Addressing a media conference today, Dr. Hines, a political scientist, noted that if elections are thrown over to 2020, it would be enough reasons to say that government is using delaying tactics.
We in the WPA think that if you go into next year, then you're inviting yourself to the charge which they've been trying to put on the coalition, but it's not been sticking, to the charge of delaying tactics.
When asked if other coalition party members share the same view, the WPA executive replied that, like the rest of Guyana, they learn of big decisions when they read the news.
As you know, we are outside of that kind of decision making. A lot of these big decisions, we, like the rest of Guyana, read about in the press, you know? And so we are not at the table to determine that. And so we can't say whether they share that view.
The WPA says it welcomes the High Court's ruling that the current house-to-house registration is constitutional and lawful. The party is therefore urging all parties and organizations to respect the court's conclusions on the major issues, the house-to-house registration and the setting of an election date. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
CR Executive Aubrey Norton on Friday rejected claims made by opposition leader Barra Jagdeo that the APNU plus AFC government is illegal, accusing the former Guyanese head of state of causing misperceptions. Here's that story.
In addressing a press briefing this morning, Norton said that Jagdeo is in a position where he hopes to get into power at all costs and is making certain statements that he cannot substantiate.
The government is clear in its head, it's operating legally. The Election Commission has jurisdiction over when elections are called, and the minute the Election Commission says to the President that we are prepared and ready and there's a credible list, there will be elections. One cannot stop the opposition leader from enjoying press coverage. All we can do is to point out that a lot of the coverage is aimed at getting political power through creating confusion, and we'll do everything to ensure that that doesn't occur.
Norton said the PNCR welcomes the decision by Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire that the house-to-house registration is legal. This decision, he said, is in keeping with the CCJ ruling that is not within the court's remit to identify a date for elections.
House-to-house registration is a legal process which permits the people of Guyana to register. It will ensure that there is a new credible list that will result in credible elections. In this regard, the PNCR wishes to urge all Guyanese to operate within the confines of the law by registering.
The opposition leader has declared that his party views the government as unconstitutional following the ruling of Chief Justice, who refused to set a date by which elections ought to be held. The Chief Justice on Wednesday ruled that the house-to-house registration is not illegal, but she urged the Guyana Elections Commission to consider other forms of verification. For Globespan 24x7 News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
Opposition People's Progressive Party Civic says it does not recognize the validity of the agreement made with oil company CGX Energy or the enactment of the Critical Natural Resources Fund law, while stating that the government has been acting illegally since March 21. Here is more.
Given the recent court ruling, the opposition has dubbed the extension of the contract with oil company CGX Energy and the recent passage of the Natural Resources Fund Act null and void. General Secretary of the PPPC and opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo reiterated his party's position that any contract signed or law passed on or before March 21 was illegal.
So I saw they're extending now the oil contract. I saw CGX got an extension, and I want to say to CGX, that extension is not valid that you got, because it's done in a period when we have a caretaker government. I've already made it clear that the daily sale of land and all of these things that they're practicing through not public processes, etc., they're all illegal, and not from the current date or from September 18, but now from March 21st.
Back in May, government had approved a strategic joint venture between CGX Energy and Frontier Energy Corporation to farm into 2 shallow water offshore petroleum prospecting licenses for the Corentyne and Demerara blocks. The Natural Resources Fund bill was passed in the National Assembly back in January of this year in the absence of the parliamentary opposition. Meanwhile, Jagdeo says that President David Granger and his government have refused to obey the ruling of the CCJ in relation to the no-confidence motion.
My new position in the PPP, and we, based on this ruling, is that since there was no extension for the March 21st elections to be held by March 21st, within that period, then since March 21st of this year, the government has been practicing unconstitutional rule. It has been a usurper of power in Guyana. It is acting outside of the provision of our constitution.
The former Guyanese head of state said his party was prepared for this to happen after September 18, but on the basis of the new ruling, it reiterated what the PPP has been speaking about all the time. According to Jagdeo, should the PPP get back into office, it will repeal the Sovereign Wealth Fund immediately, but it also plans to do so with any disturbances to production activities, which are scheduled to commence in Guyana next year. For Globespan 24x7 News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
This brought us to the end of today's news. We wish you a safe and productive week ahead. Until next time, I'm Samuel Suknandan, thanking you for joining us. Do have a great evening. Goodbye for now.